Yeah, boy, it's November 17th and it's episode 130, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer Podcast. I'm your host, Slim. Uncle Buckets will be joining us shortly, hopefully. The Fantasy Football Auctioneers, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasy football auctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at fantasy auction. All right, well, we got a great show for you tonight. Tonight we're going to get you ready for Week 11, of course. It's kind of a make-or-break week for a lot of fantasy football teams out there. We'll touch on some of the news and injuries and give you a few waiver wire moves, and that'll hopefully help you, win this week and put you in a good position heading into these crucial pre-playoff weeks, we'll say. But of course, our experts are always here. He was coaching all night, came back just in time to, tell us that he's sitting 12th overall in the Scott Fishbowl. So, Mr. Blister, that's good news. Why don't you fill us in?
Actually, Beckett had in there. He's probably been watching the Bruins, but I didn't even know they were playing because I'm at the rink every night anyway, so I just did double check. The Bruins lost 5-4, of course, to San Jose. They're not going to be the Bruins of old. They're on the downhill. But so then, 2 hours of hockey at the rink, get home. But earlier today I meant to talk to you, but I was kind of in and out of the school and didn't get a chance. But the old Scotty Fishbowl. My team's starting to come alive here right now. I think in our division, I've already clinched a bye probably for the first round or so. I got almost 1,900 points. So he sends out that weekly update right now, and I like seeing my name there. 12th overall in total points scored out of the 360 teams. So it's kind of fun, and hopefully I can make a run for it this year.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I will say in the Fishbowl, I'm kind of bad for this. I've lost a little interest because I don't think I was doing very well this week. I'm trying to remember if I set my lineup for week 10. I think I did at some point, but wow, I don't think it mattered anyway.
Yeah.
I think I did set it though, and I don't know if I tweaked it. Usually I go on Sunday morning and tweak everything, but I don't remember doing that. But I don't think it would have mattered much. I didn't have too many guys that were iffy, and I probably would have lost. But CJ Anderson. Anyway, well, I'm glad that's good that you're doing well in that.
Hopefully. I see Derek Myers looks like he could make the playoffs, and I think Uncle Buckets was looking at maybe a wild card. I can't remember. The update's extensive, man. That guy Scotty Fish puts a lot of time into that, and it's a great little league, and it's a lot of fun.
It's so long that if you're out of it, it's almost not worthwhile reading because it's just that in depth and lengthy. Like
he puts so much time into it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't know how he must not work for a living. I'm kidding. I know he is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you ready to get into some news then?
I think so.
You're going to be a busy boy here because I'm going to throw everyone to you this time. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Kristen Michael was released.
To steal Buck's lines here, if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. All right, so we'll get into the fantasy football news, buy or sell. So what we're going to do is we buy or sell this latest fantasy football headline, and we'll talk about some of the implications of said headline. So the first thing is Blister give you a spoiler alert too. Christine Michael was released by the Dallas Cowboys, and now they're searching for a new RB2. So they've looked at rookie running backs Rod Smith and Trey Williams. They've moved up the depth chart. I guess, long story short, Blister, buy or sell. Neither of these guys are worth a waiver wire pickup unless you own Darren McFadden.
I'll buy that. They're desperate right now. It's surprising how they let go Christian Michael. Randall's been a bust. Their running back situation is really a mess. McFadden had a couple good outings. decent, I think, but last week wasn't so good. Excuse me, sorry about the yawn there. Yeah, I'm not racing out to buy these guys. I'm not too excited about either of them. I mean, someone probably will, but it's not going to be me. No. How about you, Slimmy? What do you think of these guys?
In a redraft, I don't see why you would waste any fat money on any of these guys. I mean, odds say that McFadden is going to get hurt anytime because he's made it this far, but I don't know. I don't know who would even emerge out of those two right now. You got to hope that you have some better depth that could play if Darren McFadden did go down. So I don't know. I'm staying away at the moment as well.
Yeah.
All right, on to the second piece of news. Alan Hurns is back at practice. So this was a little concerning for me. I don't even own Alan Hurns anywhere, but I like using him a lot in daily. So this is interesting to me. But he apparently went and saw a sports hernia specialist, which is never a good sign for an athlete. But he, was got back to practice. So it seems like maybe he dodged a bullet. He went to Philadelphia to see Dr. William Myers on Monday, where apparently he's made a number of visits before, but none of them have kept him off the field, so it's kind of flown under the radar. I guess Blister, buy or sell. Don't worry about Hurns. He's still a must-start down the stretch.
Yeah, I'll buy that. Like, I was a little worried about him in the league this week, and I think I actually put him onto the bench, and I think I started Kamar Aiken in his place, and Hurns beat him out by about 3 points, so it wasn't a life or death situation. But I mean, he's been so steady. I was thinking, because I heard on a short week they might keep him out this week, and last week, and he'd been kind of nicked up, and he's been playing through these injuries, which is nice to see a player be able to do and still be productive week in and week out. And like you said, 7 straight with a touchdown, and that touchdown makes all the difference in the world, from a mediocre game to all of a sudden a great fantasy weekend. So I just keep on plugging him in now. If he went to the specialist and was back in the practice field, I like that. That's a good sign. So going forward, he's got to play. He's been solid. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's got to be a top 10 wide receiver this year. Is he not, or close to it?
Let's find out. Guard. I'm going to try and look super fast.
I didn't have that opened up here. I should have it.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus right now. Hurns in PPR is wide receiver 15.
15?
Yep.
Okay, maybe it's because of the low number of catches, 41. Maybe that's a little low.
Yeah, it's still not too shabby, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
15 is pretty good for
receiver one. So.
In all honesty, man, he was a guy that was either one of your last draft picks or you bought for $1 in your auction. Like, people weren't giving him their respect.
He's ahead of Calvin Johnson, Emmanuel Sanders, T.Y. Hilton, Randall Cobb, just to name a few, Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, guys that went for a lot more money, right?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like you said, he spent $1 or $2 on him.
Yeah.
So you're getting some good bang for your buck.
Pretty good. Pretty darn good. Cobb, what a loser. Anyways, carry on.
Speaking of losers, no, I'm just kidding. Johnny Manziel to start the rest of the season.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But NFL media insider Ian Rappaport reports that Johnny Manziel is going to play now for the remainder of the season. See you later, McCown, which sucks because I was just going to pick McCown up in a pool, and now I'm not going to do that. And we'll give Jay Glazer credit. Apparently, he first reported the news. So, right, Jay, if you're listening, I don't want you to be offended. But Blister, buy or sell. With almost 400 yards in the air last week, Johnny Football is a starting QB on your fantasy team as well.
I'll buy it to an extent. I think he's a streaming option going forward. If they run into some tough defenses, I probably would be a little more hesitant. But I think he's got his legs there that he can get you some points with, and he does seem to connect that for a touchdown. They've been doing all right. I mean, he can sling it. I think he'll get into trouble some games and maybe have a few turnovers, but I think depending on the matchup, he's a guy that you might want to take a look at going down the stretch. They don't have a ton of great weapons there, but Barnage has been pretty steady, and Benjamin, and so yeah, I think you got to keep an eye on him. And I look at him more of a streamer, though. I wouldn't be thinking I'm going to ride him from here on into the fantasy football championship in my league. That's for sure.
All right, quick now, rapid fire. If you could pick one guy on Cleveland that you think's value will improve with Manziel there, and one guy's that you think it will hurt, who do you think? Not that there's an extensive list of fantasy options there, but
I don't know.
I'll say I think it hurts Barnage. We talked about it a little bit last week, I think. And,
yeah.
And my pick is I think it helps Travis Benjamin, believe it or not.
Well, he seems to might be right there. I mean, he does be able to seem to hook up on those deeper balls here and there,
well,
and he probably
lock in on him too, don't you? I feel like he's looking his way a lot.
And for Barnage, yeah, you could be right there. I mean, he'll scramble around and run around a bit instead of just finding that quick dump off, which could be Barnage or the shorter pass or whatever the case may be. He might run around and too long and then it won't be there. So you could be right. I hope it doesn't. I have Barnage here and there, not a lot of them, but he's been pretty solid up to this point. But yeah, it could be scary for him, a little bit scarier. Hopefully not. Hopefully he leans on him.
Yeah, well, I think in the red zone he'll definitely still get some looks, just because they have to. But I don't know how many red zone trips they'll necessarily get. But,
that's true.
We'll see though. All right, so now to your boys, and this one's a little sad news for you and I, and well, many others as well. We think we all own them somewhere, but reports have Julian Edelman out 6 to 8 weeks. So, according to Albert Breer, Julian Edelman underwent surgery on Monday to put a screw in his foot. Now that's going to be about a 6 to 8 week time frame. So, for those of us, in the mix of our fantasy football seasons, fighting for playoff spots, this effectively is going to take him out for the rest of the fantasy season anyway. So, Blister, buy or sell. Finally, we get to be excited about Danny Amendola as a fantasy football starter.
I'll buy that. I mean, I don't know how many years ago it was now that he was one of these kind of sleeper PPR gems that was on the St. Louis Rams or whatever that people always targeted in your draft, and he always got hurt and kind of didn't get to do anything. So, I mean, he's been looking pretty solid. He had a great week last week, and when Edelman left, caught 10 of 11 targets. So, I think he is that same frame like you and I were talking earlier. Edelman seems to be able to maybe get a few more yards after the catch, and Amendola maybe not as skilled in that regard, but I think he's going to get a number of targets. I think he's going to be fantasy relevant, and he's probably going to be one of the hotter guys on the waiver wire this week, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I agree. I think he gets lots of targets. He might not get as many yards as Edelman's capable of, but in PPR leagues, just pepper those targets. And I agree. I think he will be. I mean, there's not a lot of huge options, and we'll get into this later for waivers this week. But so I think he does become the guy maybe on there because there is so few fancy. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Intriguing options, but
certainly options. I think you'll see Brandon LaFell quietly continue to become more and more involved and have a bigger role too. I mean, he hasn't found the end zone yet. I think it's just a matter of time till he gets his 140 yards in a game and 2 touchdowns. And I would be rolling a dice on him in a lot of the daily fantasies and playing him because I think it's going to happen sooner than later. And everyone, especially in daily fantasy this week, is going to be probably picking up Danny Amendola. He's going to come at a fairly cheap price tag, thinking that he'll just hop into Edelman's role, who was probably a top 5 PPR receiver. And so I should double check before I say that kind of stuff, but I'm pretty sure he would have been. Yeah, he was 6 actually, so that's not bad. But he left a half a game early there. So, I think Brandon LaFell might be a sneakier play. It cost a little bit more, but I think he could be a guy. He's going to go off sooner than later. I'm just waiting to see it happen.
Well, and I think he's been contributing. I mean, yeah, you're right. The end, not finding the end zone hurts, but we've seen his targets go up a lot, and now that he's been pretty steadily targeted. I know I've been playing him the last couple of weeks pretty heavily in a lot of my DFS lineups with up until this week pretty good success. So we don't even need to get into that. Oof.
Yeah.
This week, Randall Cobb stacks with Rogers. Brutal. But anyway, and maybe you don't want to hear this, but I think this injury is going to actually benefit. Could, other than Amendola, but Gronk maybe could get, which is a little bit scary for fantasy owners that would be playing against him. I mean, it's not like he needs extra production to produce, and now even if he gets an extra 2 targets a week, it's who knows what can happen with those.
Yeah.
Against the Giants, but all right. On to the next one. Mark Sanchez is expected to start week 11, and surprise. I mean, we kind of seem to call this that Sam Bradford is only a matter of time. He's a ticking time bomb before he gets hurt, and lo and behold, he's hurt. So for the second year in a row, it looks like it's up to Mark Sanchez now to save the Eagles season, which probably is not an ideal situation for a lot of fans, but he's going to come in, start this week by the looks of it for a 4-5 team. Chip Kelly said he's very confident, so that's awesome. I mean, why wouldn't he be? It's Mark Sanchez. So, Lister, buy or sell? Sanchez makes the Eagles backfield better.
I think he's going to make the whole Eagles better. You know, when he played last year, he was very fantasy relevant. He put up quality fantasy points every game, and that offense was moving along. The offense last year was a lot more exciting than it is this year. You know, the other night when they were playing and Bradford was playing, I don't know, last game they were on primetime, and they were talking up Bradford still, and, you know, I thought he looked terrible. I thought he was doing nothing, and he's a 22nd ranked quarterback. He's not even worthy of starting in a 12-team league or 14-team or a 16-team league. Like, he's not that good. He's thrown 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So I really think Sanchez comes in here and puts up better numbers than Bradford has been putting up. And I think that that whole team, I might be bold and think that we might see that high-paced, offense that we saw last year. They don't seem to be so flashy as last year. Last year, I don't know if we're more just used to it, but it's not the same. They're not that exciting, and they're not that scary. And, there used to be this talk of running all these plays and yada, yada, yada. Well, it hasn't been that same look and that same, excitement that they generated last year with this offense. So I think Sanchez, actually, I like the looks of this. I like what he did with it last year, and hope to see him doing it again this year.
Yeah, and I mean, you need to temper expectations too. He's not going to come in, and I think you're going to get a few turnovers every game, potentially. But, I think if you're a Zach Ertz owner, for example, this has to be, a positive. He's been targeted a few times in the end zone, but they just can't seem to connect with him there. And, if they can score a few more fantasy points, then, or it makes the passing game a little bit more viable or consistent, then why can't it open things up for the running game? I like DeMarco Murray the rest of the way too, and then we talked about this before as well. I mean, you guys traded him got rid of Fat Eddie for DeMarco in a pool, and I think that was a good move. And I mean, we'll see now. Hopefully, you can reap some of the rewards here.
Hopefully he will be. I mean, it's a half point per carry. Ryan Matthews got a concussion, and I know, he's had them before. So I think, who knows how long he'll be in or out of the lineup, but I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. We both know that Matthews and DeMarco have had their fair share of injury troubles over their careers. So, if any one of those backs, Matthews or Sproles, misses any time, it'll just give Murray a heavier workload. So, and I don't mind that. He's actually been playing pretty decent. It's not too bad. Better than a lot of people are writing him off.
Well,
I think it was the Fishbowl, or I picked him up in the 3rd round, and he's the 7th ranked running back in PPR right now.
I was going to say, with the uncertainty, and the big name, we've lost Charles, Le'Veon Bell. We'll even throw Dion Lewis in the mix because he was producing on par with those guys. Those guys are gone. Forte's been hurt, so he's fallen down a few pegs. Like, it's just with the uncertainty at the position. I mean, what's wrong with DeMarco Murray? Especially if he's your RB2. I mean, if you got him with Forte still or whatever, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So
no, he's been doing okay. I mean, when you look at it, like his numbers compared to the number one running back, Devontae Freeman, he's 100 points behind him. Not quite, but close, right? Which is a big drop. But I mean, that Devontae Freeman's
everyone's
one
not
guy.
far behind him, though, right? Look at the numbers.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
That's not even a big deal.
What surprised me looking this right now is Lamar Miller's third ranked running back in PPR, which is. I didn't think he was having that great of a season. I know he had some big games here and there, but I saw somebody picked him up in a trade today.
Yes.
Somebody.
About a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. I got offered a trade with the same guy, I think it was, he would take Jordy Nelson off my hands and give me some plug RBs and Stevie Johnson.
Well, I took plug RBs as filler.
I just said you just got rid of some plug RBs, and I'm full of plug RBs. I need a good RB to start. I need a starting RB, not a bunch of plugs. I got a whole bench full of them.
Well, I can give you a couple more now if you want. But
no, I'm full up on plugs.
Yeah.
So you can send me Danny Woodhead if you want to send me Danny Woodhead or something. I can take him.
Well, he wasn't one of the plugs I was talking about. Come on.
He's not a plug. No, he would be the best running back I have by about 100 points, probably. Maybe not that much.
Okay for you. There's nothing to like. That's
hopefully he keeps going.
I think he will.
Yeah.
Save that for a different pod. Okay. Well, that wraps up our news segment. So we can move on to segment number two, and this is Livewire. So in this segment, this is where Blister and I usually toss out a few names, talk about percentages of your fab budget that you want to spend on these guys. So yeah, nothing crazy, pretty simple. Blister, why don't you go first? Give us a name.
I think with a lot of leagues, your waiver wires are going to be closed soon, probably, and trading will be ceasing up soon. I mean, we're in week 11. Probably playoffs for most people are starting at week 14. So, at any point between now and then, if there's somebody you want for your team on the waivers from due to an injury or spend everything you can. I mean, you don't know that next week there's going to be anybody any better. There's no sense waiting any longer. If you need somebody to help you make the push or get you in the playoffs, go get them right now. So I would say spend everything you can. Take bye weeks into consideration. I think next week's the last one, but spend everything you possibly can to get if it's somebody that you think is going to put you over the top. So I'll just leave it at that instead of throwing out a number. But I'll throw out Matt Jones, running back for Washington, rookie. Jones has been up and down. He's had huge games, and then he's had very disappointing games. He's had trouble putting the ball, and he's been putting the ball on the ground, which is getting him in trouble. And so he's been really hard to rely on. But I just think he's got probably the most talent in that backfield. He's owned at about 57% on ESPN and 46% on Yahoo. But here's a guy that if they finally just say, okay, you're our number one, we got confidence in you, let's see what you got going for the rest of the way. I mean, if he is that guy and he's in Washington, who usually does like to run the ball, and he's a compliment to, they got a decent receiving core, and when Kirk Cousins is playing well, I mean, they can air it out as well. He's a guy that could be a solid RB1 the rest of the way if they can make that commitment. Alfie Morris isn't doing anything. Chris Thompson steals some catches and stuff, but Matt Jones is a guy that you could probably, if they, with some consistency, he could take you to the promised land, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good ad, and he has been up and down, but I mean, who else is there right now? And you know what, Kirk Cousins he's looking the part of an NFL quarterback, so he can lead that offense, and if he's going to be the lead back in an actual decent NFL offense, then he's still out there. Why don't you want that? Especially, we just talked about the up and down nature and just even the names that have dropped out of the running back position. I mean, RB3s are now RB2s in fantasy. So
and there's look at The Cowboys at RB8s are looking at becoming RB2s. So, it's crazy how that works. Matt Jones in our ESPN league, I was very close to dropping him last week or so. He had coming off a terrible game, and his overall point total wasn't that great compared to guys that were out there and stuff. And I didn't for whatever reason, and then he goes off last week. And of course, he was on my bench, but who would have had the moxie to play him? But I had a lot of guys. I'm glad I hang on to him. I hope it works out moving forward, because I got some running backs on that team. I think it's like Jay Stu and maybe Doug Martin or somebody that
options that.
Yeah, they don't always pan out. So, anyways, you got one for us?
Well, I'm gonna take the low hanging fruit and just say Danny Amendola. We'll get him off the list, because we talked about it earlier. I think he's the top free agent acquisition this week. Really, last week he ended up with 11 targets. I don't see the New England Patriot offense slowing down in terms of what they do. Just because Julian Edelman's gone, I don't think you're just going to see the Garrett Blount just get 40 carries every game all of a sudden. They're still going to throw the ball. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, so that they can sling it. So yeah, Amendola, the targets should be there, and there's going to be quite a few of them. So he's one of these guys, I think, Blister, like you talked about, and I totally agree with what you said. It's why sit on your money now? Now's the time. There's only limited weeks, maybe, depending on your league, but I know in most of the leagues we play in, waivers close for the playoffs. So now's the time to stack up your team as best you can with what's out there for the playoff run. So if you think that's the best guy, then go and buy it. And I will say, if you should have a good chunk of your free agent money spent by now. So based on that, I think you can spend just about everything. I still like keeping a little bit just in case of emergencies and stuff like that. Maybe a defense, you want a matchup change, or quarterback goes down, or tight end or something. But yeah, I think you got to go out there and put in an aggressive bid for Danny Amendola. So
sure, I think so. Beckett's probably doing that right now, the little weasel. Listening to a pod so he can outbid us.
He's got less foul money than us in our home league, though.
Oh, does he? I don't have much left either. Yeah, there'll be some guys not furry. I got another one for you here, especially I think Dwayne Harris, especially in a 14-team league or more. But Dwayne Harris seems to be playing more and more snaps for the Giants going forward. And, Ruben Randall is kind of, I don't know, he's like Terrence Williams. Him and Terrence Williams are similar. They should be good. They should be better. They've had the opportunity. They play across from a stud number one wide receiver, so they should be getting all the single coverage, and they should be getting plenty of opportunity to produce with it, kind of like Emmanuel Sanders did last year, or even Golden Tate was a lot better than too. You'd think that they never seem to be able to take off and run. They'll have one good game and then they'll take 8 weeks off. So Dwayne Harris is a guy that's continually picking up steam. Last week against the Patriots, he hauled in, I think it was 8 passes, or was it 6 of 8 targets or something, 6 of 9 targets for 82 yards and a touchdown. And at the time, New England's pass defense was actually ranked 9th, which is surprising. So I think he's a guy to keep an eye on, especially in the deeper league. You could get some production out of him. If all works out, we've always talked about a number 2 receiver across from a really good number 1, in this case, Odell Beckham. I just don't think Ruben Randall is the guy there. So keep an eye on Dwayne Harris.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. And you know what? I like guys like this because they're on a bye week this week. They kind of become the forgotten man. You can get them at a discount. So it's a sneaky little pick. Most guys are going to think, oh, he's out, whatever. I need somebody for this week, and they'll just totally skip him over. So I like picking up guys like that. Another guy, I'll go back to running back, is Jay Ajayi.
Damn it.
I was very low on this guy coming out just because of the injury and stuff. But he's shown 2 weeks ago to me. He's shown that just with a couple plays he made that he could do this in the NFL. And then last week what did he have? I think he had 41 yards rushing, 5 carries, 40 yards. Or, sorry, that was in week 9. And in week 10, he had 6 carries for 48 yards. So it's clear that they're going to keep, I don't think they're just, it's going to become a timeshare or anything, but it's clear that he's going to spell Lamar Miller and get meaningful touches. So if you're a Lamar Miller owner, you definitely, I think, need to take a look at him, especially if your waivers are going to close at some point for the playoffs. But even if you're not a Lamar Miller owner, he's a guy just as a deep stash that you could get probably for a couple bucks, and just hang on to him and just hope maybe that you can use him, and maybe Lamar Miller does get hurt in the playoffs, and that will benefit your fantasy team.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up too, but I wanted to try to fool you and say, I just read this, Slim, that Dolphins just named Jay Ajayi their number 1 running back, because I know you just picked up Lamar Miller, and I was like, what? Where you read that? But no, I was the same with you, Slim. I wasn't high on him going out of the draft and into our dynasty rookie draft. I didn't read enough that I liked about him. And another guy is similar like that, but you might want to take a look at David Cobb for the Tennessee Titans. Now, I'm not high on him either, but here's an opportunity waiting for this guy. Nobody in Tennessee has been able to grab the ball and run it effectively. And Antonio Andrews was okay. He doesn't seem to find the end zone, and then last week he kind of threw up a dud. So I think the door is sitting there wide open for David Cobb to come in, and as long as he's good, doesn't have to be great. I think good surpasses the rest of the people on the depth chart there. So keep an eye on him. I just don't see him ever putting up huge numbers week in and week out. I mean, you might be lucky to get 8 to 10 out of him for fantasy points in a PPR. I just don't see it being huge, like a 20 or 30 point blow up one day. But keep an eye on him. If he starting running back's a starting running back, and if you can get him, grab him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to go to one of your guys, and mine too, but Jamison Crowder. We've talked about him in the past, I believe. But I would look at your waiver wire and see if he's still out there, because one, he could have been dropped when Deshaun Jackson came back, because someone that owned him thought, oh, here comes D-Jax. There goes Crowder. He's not going to get any snaps or any catches. Well, I think that just showed last week that that's not the case. I'm not convinced Deshaun Jackson is ready to contribute at all. Definitely not on a consistent basis. So even with Jackson on the field, he ended up getting 4 catches for 64 or 60 yards and a TD. And he out-targeted Jackson. He caught more balls than him. He had more yardage than D-Jax. It's not something I think you could bank on every week, but it just shows that Crowder is still going to be involved in this offense. So if someone did drop him, or in shallower leagues, if someone hadn't even picked him up, you could probably get him for next to nothing right now and stash him deep on your bench. And in case an injury happens, he's ready for the playoffs for you at some point. So, and I think that would be a common theme with a lot of guys this week, is there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 big name guys, and the rest are going to just be cheap little flyers that you're just trying to build that depth now for the stretch run, and hopefully you don't need them, but if you do, then at least there's serviceable options that you could plug in as a wide receiver 3 or as a flex or something, and they can bridge the gap till one of your studs comes back.
Yeah, I'd go back to Jamison, because I've got him in one league, and his first 2 games of the year are pretty poor, 1 catch. So no one's looking at him. But then he went 6, 7, 8, 4, 5 bye week, 6, 4, and he's always getting between 40 up to 87 yards, but usually around 50 to 60 yards roughly, and 4 to 6 catches. He's been getting double-digit points 3, 4, 5 of the last 7 weeks he's played. Double-digit fantasy points in PPR. So he's a pretty good little flex option. He finally just found the end zone for the first time, and he got 16 points. So, if he can get into the end zone a couple more times down the stretch here, he'll be putting up some 15-plus point games the rest of the way. And got a tough game this week with Carolina. Then he's got the Giants. Should be productive. Dallas has been tough. Chicago, Buffalo, Philly. So there'll be some games he'll be playing in. Anyways, last guys I have, just the last couple, I guess, if you're looking for quarterback help, we mentioned Mark Sanchez earlier. Mark, like I said, he's in that offense. I think he'll produce. I think he'll be solid for you. We talked a bit about him already, but also Brock Osweiler now is going to be quarterbacking the Broncos, and I think a lot of people are being watching this game with a lot of interest. I mean, they go to Chicago. On the road, it's probably a good place to go to start your first game, get away from the hometown and the home crowd, and kind of get focused. I mean, he's got weapons there. I would think guys like even, I was looking at potentially Ronnie Hillman this week and Daly, cheap running back. I mean, Chicago's not a terrible team against the run. They're not great. They're middle of the pack. But I just think they're going to be doing things to get the ball out of Osweiler's hands quick and try to hand off maybe or just try to get him some confidence and try to keep the offense out there and rolling along and kind of get him in the groove. So I think Hillman might be a sneaky play, but the rest of the receivers there, I mean, last week was pretty pitiful. I think you can attest to that, Slimmy. You had Peyton kind of almost burn you somewhere. Or did he burn you?
Me.
Oh, yeah. So
-2 or whatever. He gave me 2.7.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, minus. So I guess Brock doesn't have to be too good out to beat out Peyton's -2.5 points last week. So keep an eye on that for quarterbacks. I mean, you and I are both we're playing against each other in the forefront of the Canadian Fantasy Football League, and you're way up there too.
My team's been strong lately in there. I think I'm on a decent win streak there.
Yeah, I think you are. So we're playing, and Brock's probably out there in the waivers. I don't know if I put in a bid for him or not, but hopefully you don't know.
No, that's okay. I think
one of my quarterbacks was
Dalton.
Yeah, one of mine was on a bye, so I think I had to do it. But
no, that's it. That's how it's 2 QB leagues, man. Desperate times.
Yeah, I have pulled up this ESPN league here. We had an auction draft on ESPN. I just think this team is nuts, and it's about. I'm 6-4 now. Listen to this. I got here's my starting lineup as of right now: Matt Ryan, Jay Stu, Blount, Demarius, Randall Cobb, Jarvis Landry, Greg Olson, Kamar Aiken, the Bengals, and Justin Tucker. That's solid. But on my bench, I got Brandon Cooks, Martavis Bryant, Marvin Jones, Matt Jones, Gary Barnidge, Jamison Crowder, Antonio Andrews, and Kirk Cousins. Like I got, and that team is 6-4. What's that?
Get the waiver wire hard then.
Actually, we're playing each other this week in that one too.
You'll beat me.
I have. Well, I probably got Kamar. I got Kamar, Gary Barnidge, and Crowder, and Antonio Andrews off the waivers, but that's about it, I think. But that team's only 6-4, and I have. Then you look at my dynasty team, it was Antonio Brown, and then that's it. 9-1. Stupid, crazy. It's dumb though. That's just all that matters. We were talking about the dynasty today or yesterday or whatever, and I said, one loss that'll be the end of my season. The next loss, because I'll get surpassed. The guy behind me at 8-2 will jump me because of his points are way better, and then I'll never get because the first guy gets if you're first, you get a first round bye, right? First and second.
No, you don't get a bye.
There's no buys.
Guaranteed the top. You're guaranteed if you win your division, you're guaranteed at worst a 2 seed. So you're gonna play one of the worst teams. That's all.
Okay. Okay, so I guess it doesn't matter. Then I don't have to worry about it because I'm screwed on it either way. Unless my team starts to do something fabulous. But anyways,
never know.
Where are we at now?
I guess we can pretty much transition into This Is the Man, even though
This is
the Man. So what we'll do is I'll make everybody that's listening a deal. This is the Man. If you've got any start-sit questions this week, be sure to send us a tweet at Fantasy Auction, and we will get back to you with who we recommend starting or sitting. I think we're about 100% success rate, not on our picks, but on getting back to the questions that have been sent on a weekly basis. So feel free to have the confidence that we will get an answer back based on your start and sit questions. So what I can do, though, is I can recap last week, and it looks to me like
can we?
Where is it? Points on me. Where is it? A link down there, and You got to cut and paste it. And so
Oh.
I can see that you had 5 of 8, and I went abysmal 3 and 8.
Oh boy.
So if we go through really quick, when we started with quarterbacks last week, and we both took Kirk Cousins over Tyrod Taylor. Got that correct. And then for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I took James White over Ronnie Hillman. You took Hillman. You whooped my ass on that one. Then we both went with Joik Bell over Amir Abdullah, and we squeaked out a 5.5 to 3.2 victory on that one. Again here, you picked up a point on me by taking Deshaun Jackson and his 6.4 points over Tavon Plug Austin and his 4.3 points. We both took Kamar Aiken over Travis Benjamin. We didn't do bad. Aiken had 14.3, but Benjamin had 18.6, so we both dropped a point there. We both took Crockett Gilmore, who exactly tied Richard Rodgers at 14.2, so we did all right there, even though it was a tie. We both took Brandon LaFell over Ryan Matthews, and we were incorrect on that. And we both took the Seattle Seahawks defense over the Arizona Cardinals, and we were right on that. So I'm not sure how he scored it for us, because I feel like we did better than 5 and 3 respectively, but that's what he says. But we'll double check that math after. So Blister still looks like picked up 2 points on me, but which is good for him. Not so good for me. I can't tell you what the running total is because I don't have that in front of me.
I saw it somewhere. I don't know where it was.
It looks like, and I don't know if this is updated after this week. It appears to be, but so I would be sitting at 36 points, and Blister would be sitting at 32. So
I saw this somewhere. Yeah.
We're closing the gap. So we'll skip this week, and we'll jump back in again week 12.
Oh, there it is.
And 4-point gap. It's not insurmountable, even though we lose a week. So hopefully you sleep easy at night still.
No stress this week.
That's
Don't
right.
have to worry.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So like I said, listeners, if you want any questions, just feel free to tweet us at Fantasy Auction, and we'll get back to you guaranteed. So yeah, that takes us to the end of the pod, Blister. I know there's nothing you want to add, so I'm just going to cut it right now and say I'll see you tomorrow at school, and I'll see the rest of you when it's springtime in the Rockies.
Ooh.